Hi everyone, my name is Marissa and I am super excited to offer you guys these clarity readings today. This is a topic that one of you guys requested when I asked what type of videos that you guys want to see or what type of readings you would like me to do that would, provide a lot of value for you guys. And so honestly, I love clarity readings. So what these readings are today, you guys, we're essentially going to dive into why something unfolded in your incarnation the way that it did, whether that be a chapter, a specific event, a relationship, a work dynamic, that's kind of the intention I have for these. But like you guys as well, I'm always surprised with what ends up coming through and just how the messages end up coming through. So we're truly along this ride, this journey together. So we have 5 groups for you guys to choose from today. Over here to the left is group number 1. Here's pile number 2, number 3, number 4, number 5. Keep in mind these are general readings, so I always like to remind you guys to utilize your intuition and extract only those things that you deeply feel within your own intuitive understanding is relevant for you. All right, we're going to hop right into these readings. Hi, group number 1. Welcome to your reading for why did that happen? Oh gosh, yes. So I'm really excited to be offering this for you today. I just laugh just because it's like, isn't that like the biggest question that we have as humans our entire life? Like, why the fuck did that happen? Okay, but I do want to say, pal number 1, this looks like a good happening. All right, so I feel like, again, tune into how this applies for your own individual journey, but overall, what I feel is that you guys met someone. Okay, it could be a divine masculine that you guys came across, or someone that just overall I feel like is very in tune with their emotions, or someone that just seemed very balanced within themselves, and someone like you wanted to share a certain level of depth with. I mean, we have this Cancerian energy, this Mercurian energy coming through. We have a lot about being like, you guys met this person when you were either on the brink of a major transformation, or I feel like you guys were just in a really good spot when you met this one individual. And I feel like at this chapter in your life that you met this person, that seemed like in some sort of way they could have laid or helped lay a foundation for you spiritually, emotionally, like mentally. I feel like there was some sort of love that was sparked between one or both people, and I feel like it inspired both parties to grow in a way that really brought you into a deeper state of who you came to be. Like, I feel like you guys were probably already feeling pretty solid within yourselves, and then this beautiful dynamic or this beautiful being like came into your life to reflect to you just how far you've already come. I mean, there's so much here about like independence. I'm getting a lot of Aries energy coming through here, like first house energy. I'm getting a lot of like fire energy as well. So it feels like overall there's like, this inspired a lot of transformation, okay? And so because death is here, I am getting the sense that either this transformed you guys even more into becoming self-sovereign, right? This, like, something within this dynamic catalyzed you to become that way. And I would say for most of you guys, that is the case. And for a lot of you guys as well, I'm not sure if this person is still in your life, okay? But them coming into your life was a huge reflection of just like how far you had come. And they were here to reveal to you, this individual was here to reveal to you, like how to, I feel like in a big way, they set a solid foundation in terms of like, and okay, so just get me here. Like, sometimes the way that people set these solid foundations, they're not always like, the end result can like, what am I trying to say? So to become self-sovereign and to become really empowered, sometimes we have like negative catalysts to get there, and sometimes we have more positive catalysts to get there, but the end result remains. The end result, whether like the ins and outs of this dynamic or the ins and outs of this relationship, this new adventure, maybe there was even some traveling involved or like long distance stuff going on, but I feel like ultimately this relationship and how it panned out and how it caused you to transform was to become much more just like powerful within yourself. There's a lot of boldness coming through. I mean, the elk is all about like, it's a very grounded sense of stability. It kind of reminds me of that like older soul type of energy, someone that has seen a lot of battles and has won a lot of battles like internally. I mean, there's so much here about self-sovereignty. So maybe at some point you guys did have like, you guys were lovers at some point, or that was something that you wanted. You saw longevity with this person. And at the very least, I feel like this person just gave you a glimpse into how much love that you have to give and how confident you actually are and how far you actually have come, right? I feel like maybe for some of you guys, you did move, like you did uproot your life and you moved somewhere for this person, or a big aspect of your life changed because because you knew of this person. And it ultimately, it's like you felt empowered when you met them. And I feel like you were left off even better, like afterwards, like after this dynamic played out. And for some of you guys, this person might still be in your life, but ultimately I feel like why this happened was to show you that you can do things on your own. It was to show you how independent you are. It was to show you how good relationships feel when there's two people that are feeling whole and sustained within themselves, coming together. You guys might be asking like, why did this not work out? And hopefully, we're going to get a little bit deeper, but if there's on some levels it seems like almost too good to be true, or like maybe it was such a great connection and it didn't end up like having long-term sustainability for whatever reason. There can be just like very practical reasons why this didn't work out. Like someone else already had a family, or, like there was some long distance stuff happening, or so ultimately, like I'm just guided to remind you guys that, this journey that we're all on, I just read a passage in my book. I actually have my book here. Maybe I could even find it for you guys. I'm going to see if I can try to find this passage, because me trying to remember it, I'm never surprised how these synchronicities happen. But let's see. It was talking about having like an ultimate person. Just so you guys know, this is out of my book, Emmanuel's book, A Manual for Living Comfortably in the Cosmos. This is such a beautiful book, you guys. The introduction was written by Ram Dass. He is my person. Okay, yeah, here, I just found it. So, how do you use your heart to choose a relationship when your heart seems pulled in two different directions? At the risk of sounding hedonistic, why don't you follow them both? In truth, when one is so determined to find the one eternal relationship, there is a weightiness that comes about the heart that disavows its own wisdom. Be careful of this. Be joyous and celebrate love wherever it beckons you. How would you know truth from falsity if you had never tasted falsity? There are many incarnations in which there is no place or reason for the one ultimate relationship. Remember, my dears, this is not heaven. It is a way to heaven. Be willing to accept limitation without mourning. You are in a finite world. And so that just blasted my heart open, because I've definitely had situations just like this, pile number one, where it was so great. There was so much potential. And I was like, oh my, like, I feel like, we still have these sneaky ideas that come in of like wanting to have that one eternal person, or like our person or whatever. And, I just do notice with more advanced souls, and it's not saying if you're in a long-term relationship or you have found your person, you're not an advanced soul. Like, I'm not the gatekeeper of how this shit works, but just from my own experience, you guys, like the old souls that I know tend to not stay in relationship dynamics very long. It's like we come together for a short amount of time. It's like a pocket of intensity and like bliss and joy and like a lot of learning, a lot of catalysts for learning. And then we separate, and there's a lot of integrating of what it is that we learned. And so I feel like that's probably kind of what happened. Like there was so much longevity involved, and I feel like in a big way, this helped you to become much more sovereign within yourself, because there might have been some sort of pain within the dynamic or outside of the dynamic. But ultimately, I feel like because we do have the King of Cups, it felt like there was a lot of potential, and you felt like this is something that I can see going, lasting a long time. But ultimately, I feel like what Spirit was trying to get you to see within yourself again, it's like this individual was kind of showing you the areas within yourself where you were still denying your own light. And sometimes it's easier to recognize when we're denying our own light, whether it's positive catalysts or negative catalysts, when we have that external mirror. And we tend to pay more attention when it's in the form of love, okay? We tend to pay more attention to these lessons that Spirit has for us when, you know, that love is sparked. So I want to get a little bit more details. I'm going to start with these goddess cards. So ultimately, I drew this animal card to kind of see like what was the energy, what was the reason, like what was Spirit trying to pull out of you. And so there is a sense of like maturity, in a sense of like we have the eclipse here. So, you know, things within yourself that maybe like the eclipses only happen once in a while, and when they happen, they're very intense, right? And there's a lot that we learn in a short amount of time. And so that's again why I'm kind of getting this energy, this of a lot was unearthed in a short amount of time, like probably a lot of passion, a lot of feelings, a lot of like, oh my gosh, this is incredible. But ultimately, there is a lot here about independence and remaining sovereign within yourself. And so it's not like Spirit ever punishes us, but maybe at some point there was like a little bit too much weightiness within the relationship or attached to that one person in general. And so Spirit, at least for a little bit, needed to pull you guys apart, right? Because there were some major catalysts that happened in this dynamic, major reflections that you guys got from this dynamic that were served to be very beneficial. And I see that you guys have done a lot. Like, I really feel from this pile, like I feel a sense of freedom, regardless of like what happened, regardless of how it began, how it went, how it ended, etc. And for some of you guys, this person, you guys might still be in touch with this person, but it might not be, like you guys might both be aware that, okay, like we can't come together like this right now because there just might be so much transformation that tends to happen in a short amount of time when you guys are in contact, okay? So yeah, let's get a little bit deeper. So what was this here to evolve you into? Like, what were the energies Spirit was trying to get you to see within yourself? Okay, so we have these two cards coming up. Okay, so we have selfhood, yes. Okay, what? Yes, this is exactly what it is. Like, Artemis is all about like being able to handle her shit, like extremely, extremely independent, right? Out there in the woods, got her own bow, don't need no man, okay? This is not that type of reading, but ultimately I feel like, you know, the hawk is about perception and about seeing through a more expanded lens of perception. You know, the deer is about navigating challenges very gracefully. The hare is all about, you know, it's when the hare is in its power, it knows when it needs to walk away from things. It knows when something is like becoming a bit of a detriment to its own existence. So I feel like in a big way, again, this is just reiterating this yang energy, this Aries energy that continues to come up throughout your reading, and this, you know, this very self-sovereign type of sustainability with the Nine of Pentacles coming through. This is really here in a big way. This relationship was to show you that, like, you know, you can have really painful things happen to you and somehow you come out even better, right? Somehow you come out even more on top of your game. And that's, you know, my most humble of opinions. I feel like that's where Spirit is trying to lead all of us, is to a space where we're living with an open palm. So it's like, take what you need. Take what you need from me, life. Like, take what does not serve me anymore. I don't know what's best for me. You know, I'm going to follow my heart. I'm just always following my heart, right? And then bring me what you think I need. And I'm going to do my best to, with all this fire energy, fire is about digestion, okay? It's about assimilating the challenges and the experiences that life brings us and extracting the nutrients from it. So we're left feeling more empowered. And so I feel like you guys, why this happened is, you know, there might've been some pain involved at some point. But ultimately, I feel like the energies that are coming through, I feel like are here to remind you of the empowerment this was meant to bring you. And it's never a punishment. Again, it's just part of our curriculum. It's part of recognizing more of the light within us, which is like, when it comes, that's great. If it's here, it's great. I'm gonna honor it, and to bring you more into the present moment, to bring you more into like the fullness that each moment has to offer, and just being more of the witness and less of like the trying to be the controlling factor and thinking, you know, from this level what's best for you. Because ultimately, I feel like whether it's good, whether it's bad, you guys are at a place where you see that, okay, you know, transformation is not always fun. Transformation doesn't always feel good, but, you know, even within those like catalysts that feel somewhat heavy are like beautiful memories that I think that you have with whoever this person was, whether they were romantic or platonic or like a teacher in some sort of way. What else? Kali, fear. So yeah, I feel like this was here to help you, to help dispel any fears that you have about like things that you really love being taken away from you, right? Kali is like, bring it the fuck on. Like, look at this. Like, look how wild, and just like, yeah, look how there's so much here about the powerful force of destruction, right? Kali kind of reminds me of all that is destructive and all that needs to fall away. I mean, she has like weapons here. She has a snake wrapped around her arm. So, you know, she has a skull necklace. So this is all about transformation and about death and about like, it's like the Ouroboros kind of energy. I probably butchered that, but it's about like wholeness and just like the Ouroboros is eating itself. What that represents is all is one. It's about rebirth. It's about like when you're consuming yourself, and through the consumption and the dying of your own self, you're rebirthed into something better. And so ultimately, I feel like that's what the situation was here to show you, is that like you don't need anyone to, you know, kind of reflect to you the power that you already have, although it is enjoyable when it comes. This was really here. Ultimately, this situation was to bring you into a state of self-sovereignty. And I feel like you guys learned a lot about your worth, and you learned a lot about navigating romantic dynamics. And I feel like this did help dispel a lot of fear of comings and goings in life, and to just really stay centered and like being ready for a new adventure, not backing down from challenges just because you're afraid or a little bit fearful of like, oh my gosh, if I start loving again and then I get burned in a similar way, or it gets taken from me in a similar way, how am I going to recover? But this has really brought you into a state of, again, being very wise and being like, this is just part of life. This is just what happens. Things are born, things die, they start off great. And it's like, I was just telling someone this the other day. It's like, anytime I have like a romantic interest, it's like within the first kiss, the end is written within that, right? And so again, it's all about like remembering. I feel like this is, before I get a little bit too philosophical here, I really do think that this was, in a big way, was to have you guys surrender a little bit more to just what life is all about. And it's always going to have seasons beginnings, seasons endings, changes. But I think ultimately this is probably someone that was a very sweet soulmate to you at some point. Again, despite our own human flaws, despite how old you were, despite all of those things, I feel like there was a lot here that like you cherish from this dynamic. Okay. And so we're going to see what else Spirit has to say. So anything else Spirit wants to bring through about this dynamic or why it ended? Is that what I just think it was? Okay, so we have the Two of Pentacles, the Five of Wands. So yeah, you might have been battling within yourself for a while about like why this happened or why it had to go the way it did. I feel like, you know, the Two of Pentacles talks about something being like one aspect of our life having a lot of focus on it, and then we're forgetting about other aspects. And so maybe there was like an over focus on this relationship, this dynamic or something. I feel like too, it just helped address your own fears of like competition or jealousy, or like it really gave you an invitation to understand that yeah, I feel like there's a lot here that there was an invitation about understanding that when you are good within yourself, like you're not I'm solid within who I am. I know what I have to offer. There's so much value that I have to offer that I don't see other people as a threat. Right. And so maybe at some point in this connection you did, or there was like some like comparisons happening within a dynamic, if this was like within a community you were in or something. But ultimately, I feel like this was here to really show you in a big way, like when you're not feeling in your power, which is a total like normal part of the human experience, then you're more likely to experience things of like comparison, jealousy, etc. And again, it's all just like trying to bring up to the surface what's no longer serving you, to let it go. We have the Knight of Swords coming through. So yeah, a lot of like, I feel like this happened really fast. Like, I feel like it's like, again, there's a lot of like, this was a pressure cooker of like a dynamic. It was like a pressure cooker of, in terms of the relationship. I think you learned a lot in a short amount of time. And yeah, I feel like you guys are maybe just on like a more accelerated path, because I did get that feel that you guys are like older to advanced souls. And so it's like you learn through lessons very quickly. And so Spirit will like bring people in and out very quickly, because again, it's like, I feel like your guides don't want you to miss the point of what it is. Yes, to enjoy relationships and the reflections from other people while they're here. But ultimately it's about, you know, the catalysts that you serve in their life, the catalysts they serve in your life, and just permission slips to see real time and to see to a very powerful extent where we're still denying our power as the creator, right? Denying our own light. We have the Knight of Wands. Yeah, so there might have been a little bit of like maybe in some senses it was just like like right person, wrong time kind of energy is what I'm getting from this. We have 4 of Cups. Yeah, so, I mean, this seems like a relationship where I feel like it seems like the person that you guys might compare a lot to other people. And it's like no one else compares to this dynamic or the amount of love and joy that was like born from this. And so, I mean, this is so beautiful. It just feels like one of those soulmate type of dynamics that comes into our life that, again, shows us a lot in a short amount of time, that we can almost feel a little bit betrayed by the universe when it ends up like not working out. But it seems like there was a lot more of like self-exploration. Like maybe you guys did see like having a family long-term at some point, or maybe that's something that you talked about. But it just seems like there was some personal growth that spirit wants to have. Like, I'm not saying that this is like done, because I do feel still like maybe one or both still have like some sort of potential of like, oh, maybe like that would be so cool. But if anything, it seems like there might have been some feelings on one or both sides that like this wasn't complete. Okay. Because these are both Knight cards. So there's so much more to be had, right? There's so much more to explore. It's like just the beginning. But maybe too, there was like wanting to explore other dynamics, or at least needing to explore what else is out there, because you guys just, again, might just be beings that are, have had a lot of soulmate types of connections throughout incarnations. And so just like exploration, there's nothing wrong with that, right? We have the 4 of Pentacles, so not holding on too tightly to something, right? Knowing when to let go. Again, that whole notion of like open palm, not suffocating yourself or other people and dynamics. And death and rebirth, again, we have the Death card again. So yeah, it's like this was ultimately meant to transform you in a very big way, okay? And sometimes the transformations that we have, like, they're not things that we would have asked for on this level. And honestly, one of the ways, or the most prolific way, or the most like some of the most powerful ways that we transform are when there's a deep death. Like, it's like our heart and our entire soul feels like it's on fire, like it's burning, like that suffering, right? It's like removing all of those impurities, removing all of those blockages from you, just being more free. Okay, so again, there's a lot here about transformation for both of you guys, or everyone that's involved in this, I should say, and really bringing you to a state of just like embracing the mystery, right? It's like death and rebirth comes in the form of like the great mystery, and not always needing to understand from this level why things happen, and not, you know, understanding like we won't always know how it's going to end up in the long run. But ultimately, I feel like this dynamic and this catalyst brought you exactly where it needed you to be. And I feel like you guys have gone through like significant glow ups since then, and you've really utilize this catalyst in a powerful way to become even more divine, like embodying more of your divinity. And just, I feel like you guys are very attractive, like on so many levels. It seems like you guys are very sovereign within yourself. And this, I feel like, was a very powerful realization into like, no matter how long, like this can take, these types of transformations can sometimes take years to finally like integrate and to understand. But ultimately, I am feeling the sense that you guys are coming out on top, and you guys really were able to extract the nutrients of what this was here to show you and to evolve you into. And at the end of the day, that's like the purpose of life, again, is like we're all walking each other home. No matter how much we love someone from this level, you know, remembering that there's something much bigger guiding all of this. And we're never truly not connected from someone. All right, that's more of the limited mind. But the more that you connect with your divinity, which I see is where spirit is guiding you to more and more, the more that you recognize that you are still very connected to this individual, no matter how much time has gone since you've talked, or no matter how the dynamic has shifted, they will forever remain part of you. It's like that quantum field. When particles connect and then they separate, they always affect one another, no matter how far apart they actually are, right? So I'm going to leave this reading here for now. This is very beautiful. I hope this brought clarity, confirmation, peace to your heart. Pile number 1, and I do hope to see you soon. Hey, group number 2, welcome to your reading for why did that happen? The biggest question we have in life, right? Why the fuck did that happen the way that it did? So yeah, it's interesting we had King of Cups come up in the previous reading. So maybe y'all have there's been some, divine masculines acting out the asses, okay, or something, I don't know. But ultimately, this could just represent just like an individual came into your life, and I feel like there was a lot of like promising qualities that this individual embodied. I feel like that you guys did share a level, like a deep level of love, and there was a lot of like depth in general that was sparked throughout within this connection. I feel like in some ways it was like it felt really good. And I feel like the relationship was, this card really talks about being in flow with things and being in flow with the dynamic. So I feel like it just made sense. I feel like this individual, in whatever way, this doesn't have to necessarily be like a lover. Okay, this could just be someone that like brought a lot, like awakened a lot of emotionality within you, like whether it be a friend. Sometimes we can even have like spiritual teachers do this, mentors can do this for us. But ultimately, there was something about this individual or something that happened within this connection that became like unhealthy with this temptation card. Like maybe they became an addiction, or maybe they became obsessed with you, or maybe there were like addictive tendencies on one or both parts. And I feel like something happened. There might have been one event in particular that happened to where this person did something to betray your trust. Okay, this person acted out of their asshole and did something that like they weren't able to say no to. This might have been something that you guys had talked about, or something that you were aware that this person struggled with for quite some time, okay? And it felt like heavy. It felt like hard to break free from it. It felt like something that they had been battling for quite some time, okay? And it was just like, this is what like understanding karma like can be so important. This is why it can be so important, because oftentimes we can have like our deepest desires in front of us, but we're not yet ready, because there's karmic, this is like my card for karma, okay? There's certain karmic patterns and behaviors that still haven't ran themselves out yet. And so, maybe this could even be saying, this doesn't even have to do with a person, although I am feeling like it does. But, just for an example, this can be like, can represent you, for example, you feeling like you're very emotionally stable, feeling really good about where you're at, the progress you've made in terms of overcoming certain limiting behaviors, limiting beliefs, ideas. And then it's like you break your own heart because you end up slipping into an old pattern that you thought you were over, right? That you thought you had overcome. Okay. And so I feel like in some senses, that's what might have happened within this relationship. And this could even be saying that, you in some way, like, were this person, kind of represented this someone, like an individual that was very emotionally, had a lot of emotional depth. And then like you met someone or something. Yeah, I really do feel like this has to do with someone else, okay? And like someone feeling like there's such a catch, and like maybe they have like, compatible like Mars and Venus signs or something. And like a deeper part of you kind of knew that this wasn't it. A deeper part of you could recognize that this person like had some good qualities, but ultimately like was not what was going to bring you ultimate fulfillment. And so maybe it's like you kind of betrayed your own self, and you went against what your higher self knew, or what like a deeper part of you, I should say, knew what was ultimately best for you. And so why did that happen? It's not, again, a punishment, and because spirit doesn't want you to stay in this energy of being like of self-betrayal, but really it's here to show you how far you have come, and to just have a different relationship to like these negative catalysts in our life in general. This is all about taming the beast of our own self, taming the beast. Like strength and karma, in my most humble of opinions, go hand in hand, because it's like we can know the life that we want, we can see it, we can feel it, and like if those patterns are still existing within us, essentially that's like the block between what it is that we say we deeply want and where it is that we're at. So in some way, I feel like this person was here to help undo a karmic knot within you to a certain degree. Okay, I feel like they were here to help reflect something to you where you still give away your power, where you still settle for less, and where a deeper part of you is like, this is not right, but then you like give in anyways. Like you go, again, there's something here about like self-betrayal. And the whale talks about, being able to go to a level of depth that is very rare, or exuding a level of depth that's very rare. And you know why? It's because they have these types of catalysts to where they make it out alive, and they utilize the catalyst for what it is. And it's always to see yourself, to see where you're still denying the light within your own self, and to emerge from that light. And so there is a lot here about bringing you into a place of depth within yourself, because you guys, I feel like, are already very wise. You guys are already extremely centered within yourself. And I feel like whatever the situation was, again, platonic relationship, whatever. I feel like it was just here to pull you even deeper and to show you even more like, okay, like sometimes I feel like when we're on this path, we get this weird idea that it means it's going to be easy. The only reason it becomes easier is because like you're becoming stronger, and a lot of that strength has to do with your perception, how you see these things, right? They're not inherently blockages to your deepest desires, but it's here to show you where like those old ways of being are like taking up space in your field. And so I feel like why this happened, why the situation happened, was most certainly to show you where there's still maybe some like anxiety about love, or anxiety about being vulnerable, or being able to say no when you mean no, and saying yes when you mean yes, and not people pleasing, not being afraid to hurt someone else's feelings. There's a lot here about like establishing healthier boundaries and not settling. Okay. But I feel like, what spirit wanted you to extract from this, the reason this happened, is there's a lot of clarity that either has been born already or that has the potential to be born. It's like, when you go through these karmic knots, when you're undoing these karmic knots, I just made a post about this the other day. So if you're new to my channel or you're not subscribed, like go to my community tab and check out what I posted from my main channel, what I shared on this tarot channel from my main channel about undoing karmic knots, right? It's like your awareness, the light of your own awareness during these like triggers is really important, because if you go through it on autopilot, you're deepening that karmic knot. You're making it tighter. You're making it harder to undo. But if you're staying aware throughout these triggers and throughout these like really heavy parts of our journey, if you're staying aware and you're just noticing the negative thoughts that are going to inherently be born of these like more negative and unwanted catalysts, like you're feeling it but not entertaining those thoughts, that's what's really important, and awareness helps you do that. I feel like you have a huge opportunity to like undo so much of this karmic knot in a short amount of time. And I feel like this might have to do with trust, vulnerability, love, feeling good enough, all of that. And I feel like you guys know that you have a lot to offer. You know that you are like a dream come true, but for whatever reason, this person, this dynamic, this situation was just here to show you where you're still a little bit at odds against yourself, and where you're carrying too much, right? Where you're carrying too much of a load. But it seems like both people within this dynamic had like, I feel like this was a very reflective dynamic, whether you guys are at a point to where you can even communicate about it. I feel like there was a lot of like, mirroring happening in terms of the potential to see old behaviors and to see old ways of like numbing and avoiding hard conversations, or avoiding like, kind of like using the other person or using the relationship dynamic to avoid deeper problems, or like to avoid deeper feelings, deeper emotions. Whether that was, maybe this might be the energy of this other person I'm picking more up on, but it could be your energy too. But I feel like there is something here to be said that ultimately this dynamic went the way that it did, because it was supposed to trigger this type of deep wound that you have been carrying, that ultimately like a lot of darkness and shadowy behaviors and confused behaviors have been born from it. But I feel like you guys have come so far in your journey that now you're starting to see these opportunities for what they are, not to go down that tunnel of shame like you might have done in the past, but to go with the flow of things again. And I think this dynamic just made sense, and a deeper part of you kind of understood that it was more for the lesson and less about like the longevity of this dynamic. But yeah, there's a lot of clarity that's being born. And I feel like when I see the Ace of Swords in particular, it's like undoing all the illusion that was created by the Three of Swords, because when this type of hurt is introduced into our life, we can create a lot of misperceptions and a lot of misbeliefs that kind of make those karmic propensities even tighter. So I want to get a little bit deeper. So this animal card was here to kind of represent what was the energy that spirit wanted you to like embrace from this catalyst. And the energy ultimately is like, there's such a level of depth and wisdom and beauty that is like unmatched by the whale. And it's because they have gone through like the most horrendous things like of the spirit, those dark nights of the soul, and just like those heartbreaks and those betrayals. Like the whale has gone through so many of those and still has not like shut off their capacity to love, even though there is, again, a permission slip, a seeming invitation to do that. It's like these heartbreaks, they'll either break your heart open, or you will create another layer of seal around your heart, okay? But yeah, ultimately, to sum that up, this is to make, like, it was made meant to make you even more of a badass than I feel like pile 2 already is, okay? So what else do we need to know about what this helped you step into and embody more of? Pile 2. All right, let's see which one of these. This one wants to come up. All right, so we have beauty. Yeah, recognizing your inherent beauty. It is interesting also that there is a mirror being held up here too. So this kind of confirms that feeling that I was having about, what does that say? Harana? I don't know what that means, but maybe that's something to look up. Hrana. Those could be initials too. That might be relevant. But this kind of was driving home the point that this was a very like mutual opportunity. So maybe both people were left feeling a little bit like, oh, like I didn't show up as my best self. I didn't show up as the person that I know myself to be. Why is that? It's because you guys were both holding up a mirror for each other in terms of where you're both still denying the light within yourself, right? That's all negative karma really is. It's just like those things that block us from recognizing source in all things, source in ourselves. Those stagnant parts of ourselves that it's so hard to shine light on. I feel like both of you guys had an invitation to go through this like immense amount of transformation. This looks more like a moth to me, which I feel like moths are those things that like exist in the dark but are drawn to the light. So I feel like there was a lot of darkness here that was here to make you ask those deeper questions that make you such a rarefied type of beauty, right? Make you like go towards the light and search for the light, search for the truth with the Ace of Swords. So maybe you even like started doing a little bit more research of like attachment styles, or maybe you started doing a little bit more research of like internally like sifting through, okay, why am I drawn to this type of person? Why am I so drawn to this type of person? And making some sort of link between like a childhood trauma or something and the type of person that you go for. And just an example of that, like I'm probably share too much about my personal life, but like an example of that is like recently the past few years I put together like this whole jealousy thing. And I didn't realize until like this year, like a few months ago, I'm like, oh my God, like that goes hand in hand with like an abandonment wound. Because when you like suffered that with a parent who was there to literally provide you like on a survival level type of love, like there have been studies about babies that aren't touched and nourished and held and loved when they're younger, literally like, don't make it, right? They can't survive. Love is literally like a nourishing force that has to be there to some extent when we're infants, okay? And so I feel like, so essentially what I was saying is that when I didn't, to have that love removed, like in terms of my mom, like kind of going through this abandonment, not knowing how to navigate her own darkness. It's like now I see how that's played out in my platonic and romantic dynamics, that now if someone, not necessarily now, but like in the past, if I was like really good friends with someone, or I was like in a romantic dynamic and someone else started sparking their interest, or they would hang out with other friends, like I would get so jealous. And I'm like, oh my God, like I finally made the connection of that jealousy is because I was still trying to rewrite that childhood script of like, my love is not enough, or like maybe this time my love will be enough, or like not wanting something to take that love away from me in the same way that it did when I was younger. And I like really needed it literally for survival. Okay. So that type of connection that light of awareness can be so profound that it undoes so much of the karma, because now you know where this root is coming from, right? You've shed light on some of that shadow. And so now you're a little bit more free. And so now you can recognize when you're like trying to rewrite that script, right? And so you're less likely to create more suffering for yourself and other people. So next we have synthesis. So this is all about healing. Yeah, synthesizing. So there is a lot here about, this reminds me of like synergy. So there's a lot of growth potential for everyone involved in this dynamic, for both people involved. But I feel like ultimately this is really confirming that higher self has your back. And if there's any question of just like, you guys might be questioning like, why did I do that? Like, why did I walk myself into that? Or like, I feel like I was so beyond this, right? Like, I feel like I was over this. I am getting this sense of like shame or just like deep questioning of like why you did this, right? But ultimately it is, even though it might not seem that way at first, it is to get you closer to true fulfillment, to true like self-sovereignty. You guys might have already been feeling that too. Like, again, you guys already felt very wise within yourself before this individual. And so maybe they just like were a catalyst to for whatever reason, they held codes that were able to open you up to a level of vulnerability that I feel like generally you don't have permission slips to do. And they were just a permission slip. And in some ways I'm seeing that you were too, even if this person, like even if you aren't at a place to where you guys can talk about this, like have a mature type of conversation for whatever reason. I don't mean to say you're immature if you don't want to talk about it. Maybe you genuinely, it feels like this person would not be able to hold the type of space that you need in order to like synthesize this within yourself. But ultimately, you guys both held codes within each other's field that many people don't hold, like, and were able to unlock. You know, this was an invitation for both people. Whether or not the other person takes it doesn't really matter, because I'm focused on my pile number 2, okay? And so this is all about like revealing to you your true worth, your true beauty, which is beyond anyone else. And it's never like, it can never be confirmed or denied outside of yourself, okay? It's just meant to help more and more redirect your focus into your own depth. Right? Because there might be some like self-worthiness battles and heaviness that have like was triggered in this dynamic. Okay, so let's get a little bit more spirit about this situation. Anything else you want pile 2 to know, please? We have Knight of Cups. Yeah, so maybe in some ways, like this person again was like, maybe you guys don't have a lot of people that can trigger your heart to open in this way, and this person maybe felt like there was a lot of potential, like they had their shit together. You know, this is really meant to bring you more into your own power, your own sovereignty, and to not like hide. Like there's a lot here about not like dimming yourself down for anyone else. But maybe that was just a pattern that was triggered within this dynamic. We have the Queen of Pentacles. Yeah. So again, to deepen yourself, there's, you know, more of this like Mother Earth energy. So a lot of earthiness, a lot of like that earthly type of renewal. This could even be saying that like, spending time by the river or spending time outside will help you integrate this, or like to gain more truth about this situation in general. If you guys like are being too hard on yourself, especially because there might be some, again, that shame cord might have been triggered is what I'm sensing. And so it's really important to not attach your sense of, to not attach to the thoughts that are inevitably probably being born at this point in time from whatever happened. Okay. King of Cups coming through again. So yeah, I really do. Again, this is just really re-emphasizing the amount of depth that this was to bring you into, and the fact that I feel like you guys are already using this as a catalyst to go deeper into your heart, and to not take this as like an invitation to close your heart down, but to really like live with it much more open. And I feel like in some way, this is here to chip away the guards that you've built around your heart, and to be like, fuck it. I'm not going to try so hard anymore to like fake who I am, or to like live with these protection mechanisms. I'm going to do my best, and I'm not going to judge myself if my protection mechanisms come up, okay? Because I understand this is a journey, and this is part of what it means to undo these karmic knots. It's not going to happen overnight. It takes strength. It takes tenacity. It takes longevity. It takes perseverance. And so I'm going to let that unravel as it's meant to, and not judge myself, okay? There's a lot here about like remaining open to not closing your heart down to your own self through judgment, through shame, or whatever, right? Not attaching your thoughts, but there's both of their eyes are closed. This is really about, and you might have significant signs here too, okay, that are coming through. Yeah, like maybe there's like significant earth signs or significant water signs that are coming through. That might be here to confirm to you like their energy, this person's energy, or whatever. But I feel like ultimately there's a lot here about going within, okay, and deepening into your heart, deepening into your soul stream, not closing down your heart, because that's what makes you so beautiful. Pile number 2 is the capacity that you have to love. And again, not making someone else like bad or wrong, or like blaming them, but like doing your best to hold them in your heart and being like, thank you so much. Thank you so much for showing me where I'm still denying the light. Thank you so much for showing me where I still don't fully love myself, okay? And last, we have 6 of Swords. So yeah, this is like an emerging from this heavy type of energy. So yeah, you guys might be going through it, or you guys might have gone through it, through this situation, if you know who this is. But ultimately, it's, you know, not to make the other person wrong or bad. And they were just here to show you a pattern that seems like it's been within your life for a long time, that you guys normally don't have too many permission slips to see in this type of way. I feel like it's probably few and far between that you feel like, you know, someone triggers your love in this type of way. And so it is here to help you play the game with more ease, to help you play the game in your power still. And the thing about being in your power and being confident is confidence is not pretending like you don't have insecurities. Confidence is like showing up and being you despite the fact that you are flawed, despite the fact that this is a very limited, you know, we still live within limitations even when we are have our awakenings, even when we've been on our path for some time. Like it's part of the journey, right? And so ultimately there's like a surrendering here, there's a synthesizing happening. There's a permission slip for both people to go through this, but ultimately I feel like Spirit is really coming through and saying that, you know, don't believe the negative thoughts, don't believe the shame, and let this strengthen you into your own depth, into your own heart of hearts, because that is really why you are so beautiful. That is why people love you so much, pile number 2. I feel like people are just enamored by you already. And so I feel like maybe sometimes you put more pressure on yourself than you need to, because you feel like you have to show up for your people, or you have to show up in some type of way. But it's like people fall in love with you more when they're like, oh my gosh, pile number 2 is so amazing, and they're also human, and they're also not trying to pretend that they're perfect or they don't go through these things. Like, this is honestly what I'm learning is true beauty and true strength is like, I'm vulnerable, I'm human, I suffer, but how I'm always going to use that suffering as fertilizer into catalyzing me into my next best version. So pile 2, this feels complete. I'm going to leave this here for now. If this resonated, please give my video a thumbs up. Comment anything like synchronicities down below, and I do hope to see you on my channel soon. Hey, group number 3, welcome to your reading for why did that happen? So, as I was setting up your cards, I was just shuffling these oracle cards and these tarot cards I'm going to use here in a little bit, but I mean, I saw the 5 of Pentacles first, the 5 of Cups came up next, right? Then the next thing I saw, I just rearranged them a little bit, but the Orphan card came up next. So we already have 5, 5, 5. So, and these are both, all of these cards talk about really like feeling left out and feeling abandoned, man. And feeling like you were left out in the cold, feeling rejected by life or by, I really feel like this has to do with some sort of community with the B card coming up and the 3 of Cups, or feeling like there's like some sort of group that you're involved in or were involved in with at some point. This could be like a job, an organization or something, to where I feel like there was a lot of like promise, okay? There was a lot of like promise in terms of like you might have just been getting started with the Page of Pentacles here. Again, this is why it reminds me that it's something very tangible, like you were working with people on some level, and they kind of felt like, to some degree, I feel like it felt like your family, or it felt like your tribe, or it felt like these are people that got you on some level. And I think you discovered a lot about yourself with this Ace of Swords energy that's coming through. I feel like you had a lot of epiphanies about what you have to offer and who you are and who you came here to be. And I think to some degree with the Intuition card, like you knew this was coming, or that you knew that this wasn't going to be long term, okay? But still, I think maybe the way that something ended, or the way that you walked away, or the way that this like kind of abandonment, left out in the cold, orphaned energy happened, maybe happened in a way that was a little bit startling, or just like you just felt very betrayed by people that you thought had your back at some point, okay? And so, you know, why did this happen? We're definitely going to get deeper already, but I just kind of wanted to set the stage with the energy. But already I am feeling like this is just here to show you a little bit more, like a part of you, I feel like, already knew that this was not it. And sometimes when like we know something's not it for us and we decide to linger maybe longer than we should, which I don't think we ever are in something longer than we should be or should not be, you know, it's all just, you can never really fall off your path, okay? Like it's like a flow chart. What my guides show me, it's like if yes, then this, if no, then this, right? And so ultimately all with the intention to actualize your soul's blueprint and to really execute why it is that you came here. And so I feel like in a deeper way, like you probably already knew that this wasn't going to be long standing, but it doesn't mean that it still didn't hurt when the things unfolded the way that it did. And maybe people were like talking shit about you and gossiping about you and like had a bunch of shit to say about you, which always tells us more about someone else's level of maturity and their like unexplored nature. Like, honestly, you'll rarely hear me talking shit about anyone. Like, I don't talk shit. If anything, it's like, I don't understand. Like, I can understand why this person is doing this, but because it's like a significant soul contract, it can just be challenging for me. And I'm like, okay, please just hold space for me as I just vent about this very this thing and this lesson, this part of my curriculum that I'm having a really hard time navigating, okay? But, you know, if people are just going to make superficial types of judgments about you, you know, they're probably more superficial people anyways. And I can feel from my pile number 3s that you are probably have a lot more depth to you than many people, you know, especially when there's these types of codes within a soul's blueprint. This is probably not the first time you felt this type of abandonment or this type of rejection in your life. Like, you guys could have gone through some sort of bullying and like not feeling good enough within family dynamics and friend dynamics. And so, you know, I'm not surprised that we would have more of an invitation of this to come up in your life. This could also just be talking about those karmic tendencies in general throughout your life. Like, why did this happen, or why does this keep happening? Okay, there's something significant about not extricating your sense of self-worth from what other people have to say, right? And really finding your tribe and people that get you and people that are on your same level can take time, right? But I feel like a deeper part of you kind of knows the significance of why things unfolded the way that they did, and a deeper part of you too is like really in tune with your higher self and your spirit guides. And so I feel like they're helping you through this, and they have been helping you through this and helping you recognize how this is like can be used as a gift on the planet at this time. Honestly, when people have these codes in their blueprint, I was guided to the goat, so greatest of all times. I feel like you guys are just like really real people and really easy to be around. And, you know, honestly, people with these types of codes generally are like, you know, the bartenders that end up being therapists, right? Or like, you know, the Uber drivers that people spill their guts out to. Or like, I just feel like you just have these codes in your field. So what I'm trying to say is that people probably feel really comfortable opening up to you. And so throughout like what has been your deepest pain in life, that's what's allowed you to be like this kind of equalizing force in the lives of other people, because they don't feel judged in your presence, because you know what it feels like to be misperceived. You know what it feels like to be judged by surface level bullshit. And you don't want to bring that to other people. You don't want to be that type of person, that type of negative catalyst in people's lives, right? So you really do your best to, I feel like this has really invited you with this Scorpio energy to like understand transformation, the process of transformation, and embracing the fact that it can be painful. But ultimately, like, life has, you know, you might not have always felt like this, but ultimately, like, I feel like you're starting to see more and more. This is an invitation to see more and more like where the opportunity to be successful is written within these like seeming failures, and that they're two sides of the same coin, right? And what is failure except just like, you know, only if you like give up and completely stop trying. But I don't think the people drawn to my channel are like that, okay? So yeah, there's a lot here about feeling like you were part of something, or like really aching to be part of something and to have your people, to have people that understand you. But there's a lot of reflections in your past, or maybe there's one significant kind of thing that really shined a lot of awareness on this one pattern of like, you know, maybe trying to fit in places that you're bigger than, you know, like fitting in spaces that you don't fit in because you're just bigger, you know, like your aura is bigger, your light is bigger, your potential is bigger than what it has to offer. Okay, but it did seem like maybe something that has been happening since a young age, and this could be an event that like had a lot of like hope. Like maybe you're just getting started in this community to some degree, or like it felt like there could have been you could have stayed in it so much longer or something, because this Page of Pentacles feels very new. It feels very like just getting started. Okay, so yeah, let's get a little bit deeper with what this was here to bring out of you. How was this here to help you evolve? Okay, laughter. This is beautiful. I feel like this is really not taking things too seriously. All right, so, you know, that I hesitate because sometimes if those karmic scales haven't tipped organically, then, you know, I never want to come across like cruel or not understanding. But honestly, like I, for example, recently went through something that was kind of debilitating to my spirit. I had a karmic pattern come up that was connected to a very deep wound that has been following me around since childhood, okay? I shouldn't say following me around, but, you know, that's just been part of my curriculum, okay? Part of my learning, my growth on Earth at this time, part of what I'm here to help shed light on for the planet. And the very next day, I went to a soul brother's house, and we were talking about what happened, and we started laughing, and I was like, oh my God, thank you so much. Like, we can tend to forget how healing laughter is, okay? That invites space for grace. And there's a lot here about shame, like maybe feeling shameful. And so this, with the laughter card and just that example I was like naturally guided to bring up, I feel like this is also like shame tends to live longer and to exist. Like the brooding ground for shame is in not talking about it, because that confirms subconsciously that there's something to be shameful about. But when we open up to other people, right, when we allow other people to have our back, like as few and far between as they may be, like people that can genuinely hold space for the amount of like power that you embody, pile number 3, it's like shame can't live in spaces like that. Shame can't live in spaces where it's, I used to call it like airing out the ego, where especially if it was something I didn't want to talk about, that was because like you don't want to talk about something that you like the amount that I didn't want to talk about something was parallel to the degree that I believed it was true to be about myself, okay? And like these shameful quirks, but it's not true, right? Again, intuition tells me a deeper part of you, the high priestess energy knows that like we are beyond all of these things. So it's like having that absolute understanding, I'm beyond everything. None of this shit matters. Like it's all good. Like, I'm this pure infinite soul. But then when you couple that with your relative experience, it makes navigating these things more fun. You don't take it so seriously, and shame doesn't have a place to live because you recognize that's what makes a human journey relevant, okay? And so I feel like that's part of the reason why your guides, like why this has been following you around or why this specific thing happened, because like your signifier that you're moving past it and that you're undoing this karmic knot is the more that you're laughing, okay? The more that you're having fun, the less that you're like taking it seriously, like take it serious enough, not like burying your head or bypassing, but like this is like a true joy, a true laughter of just like being incarnate and like being like, what the fuck? Like this is so weird. It's so weird how much we like care about stuff that keeps us in suffering, and the things that really want to set us free, we resist those things at the same time, okay? But ultimately there's a lot here about huge potential for self-sovereignty and to realize truth, okay? With the Ace of Swords and the High Priestess, there's a lot here about like spiritual understanding or even like philosophical understanding. So we're not putting so much heaviness into life, and because so we're able to meet life with a greater amount of joy. So next, what was this here to help you integrate within yourself? Challenge. Hell yeah. This is so beautiful. This is like, this reminds me of strength, the strength card in some way. But this is, the Sphinx is all about rising above challenges, right? Not backing down. I mean, there's a level of like confidence behind the gaze of the Sphinx. I don't know why I didn't do this for any of the other piles, but I'm like being guided to read to you guys the Sphinx in particular. I'm just getting this deep pull to read about the Sphinx with you guys. All right, here we go. Challenge. Okay. If I ask the question that provokes, will you stretch to find the answer? Will you take up the gauntlet flung boldly and defiantly answer the call? Will you meet my challenge with tingling in your blood, with your hair blowing electric in the wind, with all your being, knowing that every challenge is an opportunity. Every challenge presents a gift. Every challenge is there to serve you or not. It's your choice. Ah, that's beautiful. The Sphinx will not let you pass until you respond to her challenge. How can you meet a challenge and prosper in all aspects of your being? You can let yourself get torn down by a challenge or kicked or pounded or defeated, but how can you take the challenge and use its energy to nurture yourself? Have you been running from challenges all your life and now find you haven't developed the energy or power to face them? Perhaps it's easier to ignore challenge and go on with self-limiting behavior, or maybe you feel that life is all messed up. Whatever way you have been dancing with challenge in the past, whatever way you have been dancing with challenge in the past has a change. Okay, so I'm not surprised that I'm guided to bring this up. I feel like when these situations tend to happen, or when you feel rejected by someone, I feel like your first default might have been shame, right? And so, I'm not surprised I was guided to read all of that, because this is really meeting these times where you felt rejected and not good enough, and like you don't belong, you don't fit in. Like rewriting this script and laughing more. Like, again, this energy, this is like a symbol for taking the challenge and not letting the challenge win, and like seeing yourself through and not taking the bait from whatever bullshit thoughts are trying to come through. And again, it's like when you can laugh in the face of a challenge, it's because you understand, a deeper part of you knows that it's smoke and mirrors, okay? A deeper part of you recognizes that it's illusion, it's not truth. Doesn't mean it's not relevant, but when you can have that absolute understanding of like, okay, none of this is real, but this is my current experience, it kind of like diffuses the intensity behind it a little bit. And because you've diffused a little bit of the intensity, it's not as real as you've believed it to be throughout your entire life. So now that's where you have space to like let yourself off the hook and to enjoy life and to enjoy whatever's happening, even in your most insecure moments. Like when you can feel light even within situations that would have provoked your deepest insecurities, like that's how you know you're already undoing the knot. It doesn't matter that the insecurity is still coming up. It doesn't matter. But the fact that you're still showing up and not backing down, there's a sense of like not backing down, not giving up, not taking the bait of meaning that like because you've been rejected, because people haven't understood you, that means anything about you. It doesn't, right? And so I wouldn't be surprised too if in a big way you are like, you are going to help other people with this, whether you're working with them one-on-one or whether you are just, you know, again, people just feel so safe to completely be themselves around you. It's like there's an invitation for you to give yourself that same type of love, okay? To like give yourself permission to just be you. Like there's nothing you have to change about yourself. And because so like acceptance is the hardest thing, right? The Law of One says, this is actually something I have on my about profile. Like when you go to my main page, my main tarot page, know yourself, accept yourself, become the creator. The hardest part is accepting ourselves. Like pile number 3 knows that this has been going on. Pile number 3 is very aware of these karmic codes within your blueprint, that you have felt like the black sheep. You felt like people don't understand you. You feel like you have so much potential and you want to grow with people. You want to celebrate with people. You want to find your community, right? But there's like also these protection mechanisms that you have developed from these things within your earlier incarnation. Okay, and these protection mechanisms are, I feel like, what is holding you back from what it is you really want. Because this card was mainly to represent what this energy or why this situation, these catalysts, like what it was here to bring you towards. And this is all about community and like working for something bigger than yourself and knowing your place within the universe, okay? And so if you can like already know that you have a place, already know that everything is perfect, already know that like it's really about shifting your perspective of these challenges is what I'm getting, right? Shifting your perspective. There's an over-identification I'm sensing from these things that have happened, and spirit really wants to extricate your sense of identity from it, right? And that's what kind of spirituality is all about, right? It's not being in heaven, like being so disconnected, so within these wisdom teachings that like you're in heaven looking down at your earthly experience. But at the same time, you're not so caught up in your earthly experience that you forget there's a higher plan, that there's a divine mind, that there's something bigger orchestrating all of this. Okay, but it's really finding that delicate place in between. All right, so rewriting how your relationship to challenges. So now we're just asking anything else that spirit wants to come through. The Emperor, self-sovereignty. Yeah, I feel like when like you are going to be such a force to be reckoned with, and I feel like you guys have probably already made good progress in this. So everyone's going to be at different parts of this, but like you are going to feel so free within yourself. Like you are going to become so much more free the more that you just like accept yourself, right? Again, that's the most important part, is like we only start to become rigid and awkward when we're trying to fight what feels like the most natural, and when we're like trying to put on a show, okay? The Emperor is relaxed. The more that you relax into yourself, so the more that you relax into, okay, like, you know, I'm not perfect. I'm flawed. I'm scarred. All of us are, and I'm not going to put on a show. Like that realness, that authenticity is so fucking attractive. And like you're going to be a magnet no matter how quirky you are. Like just the more real you can be about who you are and where you are, like not like reveling in your trauma or like overly attaching to it, but just being real. Like this is what the fuck is up, you know, this is me, take it or leave it. Like that only comes through the gateway of acceptance. And so after acceptance is like becoming the creator. So it's really like what that, and how I interpret that. And this is, by the way, this is a saying from the Law of One teachings. So that might be something some of you guys are drawn to look up, because there is like some other Egyptian type of energy here. It's like a channeled material from the 80s, and it's very powerful. So, know yourself, accept yourself, become the creator. Ultimately, that is like where, in my sense, you're living from a state of kind of transcendence to where you're living in the realms of like what the masters, the master metaphysicians, or just the, what am I trying to say? Like the enlightened beings, like Jesus, Buddha, like living from that state of using everything, like seeing everything as God, right? Nothing is not God. Everything is God, right? And just the more painful parts of life are just the areas where we've been denying light, or we can't recognize how something is perfect as it is. Okay. And so it's like, you're not like spirit or God wouldn't run away from source, whatever. It doesn't run away from anything because it knows everything is it. So there's nothing to fear. Right. And so that's what I mean. Know yourself, accept yourself, become the creator. There's nothing to fear. Right. And so you're living from a place of like, okay, this is just where I'm at. Like, I'm going to honor it. Like, yes, I know absolute truth, but also this is my relative truth. This is the paradigm I'm in. There's no shame here. Okay. Next, we have Three of Wands. So yeah, taking on the challenge, knowing that you're going to succeed. Right. So that's part of what spirit like set you up for, or is like, I feel like this is such a big part that so many people like, this is such a big part of what holds so many people back in life. So if you can really like get over this discomfort of being rejected, and I'm sorry, I hope that I don't sound harsh, get over it. Like I fucking hate when teachers say that, or anyone says that, right? Honor your process. But like, if this can be something that doesn't hold you back from showing up, then like the world is your oyster, man. Like you can do anything, especially when you understand that if it exists within you very strongly, I can say there's a 99% possibility that most of humanity exists are going through the same struggles. Okay. And so they probably don't even notice what you're going through, or it's not very loud, right? Only what becomes very loud is when people have embraced it, because most people perpetuate this energy because they're resisting it being there. They're saying, this is not okay. This is not right. So you're denying the perfection of something in this moment. And so it creates this level of like awkwardness and like being uncomfortable in your own skin and your own body. All right. But like the world is your oyster when this can exist. And when you like, okay, I have this in my code, but I'm not going to resist it. Okay. This is what the fuck it is. And it's such a weird dichotomy, because the second you're like, it's okay to be this, is the second you like step more into this. All right. Yeah. I feel like there's a lot of potential for like rapid movement. I feel like you've been working on this for some time, and I feel like there's a lot of clarity that's coming into your experience. This is probably something you've already been intuiting. And so there's a lot of there's a lot of potential to quickly move through this type of energy coming up soon. Or maybe you had a catalyst recently that came up where this was like sparked deeply. And this could be saying that there's something coming in. And so now spirit's preparing you. Like there's going to be some of this old wounding, this orphaned energy projected or presented to you. And because you're going to hold yourself, you're going to be aware of it, and you're not going to like attach to the negative thoughts that are inevitably going to be born from it. You can undo a lot in a very short amount of time, right? Yeah, a challenge might be coming near. Three of Swords again, okay? So really reiterating this sense of this has been debilitating for you guys. And, I totally can feel you. I deeply feel you here, okay? I can speak on this so deeply and so well because this has been a relevant part of my own experience. Many catalysts of feeling this way and being in communities, not feeling good enough, and, but you will overcome this, right? You're meant to overcome it, or it wouldn't be like such a significant and like predominant part of your field. And I deeply feel that like you are going to help people. You're going to be like a voice box for this karmic knot that exists in humanity. Okay. All of humanity experiences this to at least some degree, right? And the people that stand out as leaders, like the only difference between them is like, it's not that it's not there. They're okay with it being there. And so it's not overwhelming their field. They're not resisting that aspect. And so, they're allowing it to be there. So the light of their awareness kind of dissipates it, Lastly, we have the Hermit. Yeah. So there's a lot of wisdom that is going to be gained. Oh, I didn't realize I had this upside down. So the star card here. So something you don't see, the healing is already happening. There's a lot of growth. Okay. And I feel like you will have an opportunity here soon to like really put this to the test and to laugh in the face of this challenge and understanding. I feel like you're going to see how far you have come in a very short amount of time. But spirit is also like, take your time too. Like when this catalyst is triggered, or if this catalyst has already happened, take all the time you need to like really integrate it, right? To really sit with that energy. to not make it mean, yeah, Eight of Cups, Queen of Wands, yeah, not make it mean more than what it is, but again, to like, yeah, I feel like you in some way are really going to help people, because the thing about the hermit goes through a lot of darkness on their own, and they shine light on aspects of the human psyche in a way that is very unique, in a way that's very liberating for other people. So again, I feel like these codes have been so loud within your field, because when you do utilize it and see it for what it is, an opportunity to shine light for the rest of humanity, I feel like this is saying you can make really big advances in the human collective. Because I feel like the more I get into this reading, the deeper I feel these codes to be. Okay. And so like maybe a very loud and predominant part of your experience might be like fear of rejection, anxiety, like, you know, kind of an avoidant personality style. And don't diagnose yourself or anything, but, you know, it's just part of the human experience. Okay. We all have our own things, but this seems like this rejection and this deep aching of the heart is meant to break your heart open and to just like be fucking real. And like, if you're not already seeing it, like, I feel like people are going to be drawn to you like moths on a flame, because your realness, your authenticity is like so loud. It already is, but I feel like it's just going to get louder the more that you're like, I'm not, okay, whatever, you know, like laughing in the face of the challenge, seeing the challenge for what it is, and allowing this challenge, these challenges, these karmic knots to like alchemize you, you know, to work their magic on you in the way that your higher self knew that it would when you took birth. Okay. So I'm going to leave this reading here for now, pal number 3. Thank you for being part of this reading today. Thank you for your energy. Thank you for being powerful things in store for you. You probably already feel it. You've always felt it. Yeah, please give this video a thumbs up if it resonated. Leave any synchronicities down below in the comment section, please, if it resonates. And yeah, I hope to see you on my channel again soon. What's up, group number 4? Welcome to your reading for Why Did That Happen? Hopefully, you know, so far these have been bringing through incredible clarity. So I'm really excited to dive into this reading with you guys today. Again, remember, these are general readings, so please try to utilize this and apply this in your life, however it applies, or, you know, extract what feels useful to you, and just applying the messages that are coming through in the area that it applies, I should say. Because I am seeing that at some point there was a situation that you guys have been wondering about, or that's been on your field of awareness, where you came to a decision that needed to be made, and it was like you were choosing between two paths. It could have even been two people, with the Queen of Cups and the Queen of Swords. And this could just be saying you are just wondering, like, if the decision you made, like, if you would have been a different person, like how you would have been different by making a different decision, right? And so already I'm getting that saying of just because things could have been different doesn't mean that they could have been, that they would be better, okay? I feel like you had to make a decision pretty hastily with the Eight of Wands here. And it feels like in some ways, like it felt like, I really feel like this tested you in terms of your levels of faith. It tested you in terms of just like resources. I feel like this might have had to do with like a move, or like a new job opportunity, right? We have movements, choices, and decisions, which essentially means like the longer you take the time to make a decision, the more you prolong the energies, or like the more you just prolong life unfolding in the way that it wants to unfold for you. So I feel like honestly what I'm getting is like, did I make the right decision? I feel like you guys were kind of forced into a corner, and you had to choose between like your logical mind, your rational mind, and your heart, right? And regardless of what you guys chose, like if you chose the rational mind or if you chose the heart or whatever, I feel like you guys, you know, chose the thing that made the most amount of sense to you in terms of where you were at within whatever paradigms you were operating within, okay? So if your paradigm supported a more rational choice, then like, that's fine. That's where you're meant to be. That's what, like, whatever pocket of learning you are in currently because of this choice that you had to make, like, very hastily, like, it's going to show you what it needs to show you, right? And for those of you that followed your heart, and maybe like your finances took a hit because of it or whatever, or maybe you're like, am I providing the right foundation for my family, right? The beaver is all about like decisions that they don't make. It's almost like the beaver is like pushed up against a corner, and like the decision is made for them. Like the beaver is not one to initiate, is what I'm trying to say. But when it is in circumstances that where it recognizes it has to provide, that's its deepest integrity is to provide for its family or those people that rely on them in some sort of way, the beaver will like get to business, and there's a lot of longevity, there's a lot of perseverance, there's a lot of like true power and strength behind what they do, right? And so I feel like some of you guys might be questioning, did I choose the right path? And honestly, whatever path you chose is the path for you, because that's where, whatever you leaned into is what you like, where your paradigms organically supported you. So that means your next phase, like it organically ushered you into your next phase of evolution. Okay. So, some of you guys took a leap of faith into something new, you bet on yourselves. And I feel like, this is essentially saying no matter what you did or what end of that coin you land on, like it's going to work out, right? Or it's going to pan out for the best. I've done many types of spreads and readings for people where it's like, if we don't choose the highest path, eventually the path that we did choose is going to fall apart anyways. And so at some point we're going to default to that path that would have been brighter and better anyway. So it's like, Spirit is just kind of reiterating that there's a foolproof plan that is always supporting you. You guys might hear some hailing. We currently are going through extremely interesting weather patterns in my area. So, yeah. So essentially what I am saying that whether this was a choice between two different people, or a choice where you chose the logical, rational mind over the heart, or where you made a decision, of your heart over the logical mind, just essentially it's like trust where you're at and you're always going to like end up where you need to be. And I'm hearing that there's a significant reason of why it kind of like had to happen so fast, because the longer you were thinking about something or the longer that you were waiting to make a decision, like the more that you would have just stayed where you were, and Spirit just needed to get you moving in a new direction. Spirit just needed to get you moving in any direction besides where you were already at, because I am hearing there was some degree of like stagnancy that had developed, and you're ready for your next phase of evolution. You're ready for your next thing, right? So yeah, I mean, this is pretty beautiful. This could even be something as like, choosing a job, right? Something that is like, something more rational, this makes more sense, or choosing something, okay, I'm going to lean into my passion projects. I might not have all the money right now, but I can comfortably sustain myself and make it through, right? Or this could be saying like, from the other end of the spectrum, okay, I'm going to lean into my passion project. I'm just going to stay with this job. I'm going to stay with this promotion, and then eventually getting to a point maybe where you see that was where you were meant to be. And so ultimately, like, this is you're learning how to trust your intuition more, because if you go against your intuition, if you know you're supposed to be in this job and you quit it, right, eventually you'll make your way back. And if you know that you're supposed to like be doing something that involves more of like your intuitive capacities and things that maybe might not make sense to a lot of people, but just like feel like it genuinely lights you up. Like if you already know what to do and you don't do it, you'll see by the fruits of whatever results you get, you'll see in due time, right? So I feel like there's a lot about here, like not questioning the decisions that you made, but ultimately utilizing everything as an opportunity to see where you're still banking, like when you're still making your decisions based off of like fear and rationality, and when you're making your decisions based off of like, I am betting on myself, right? Like the universe has my back, and if it's something that feels electric and exciting and like it lights me up, then trusting that that's going to really support me, because ultimately I feel like despite what decision might have been made, that is the decision that Spirit, I feel like, really wants you to come to, is this place of like not being so attached with the Queen of Swords, not being so attached to the results, and trusting your heart to guide you, trusting your heart to lead you to where you need to go, essentially. Like this guy is making it off of the battlefield unscathed. So I feel like this is like really showing you that regardless of what you choose in life, like you're going to make it out. Like you're never going to be left to fend for yourself. You're never going to not have enough. And this is really here to reveal to you like how powerful you are and how you can really make things happen when you believe in yourself, and that you deserve to make decisions and choices that feel like they set you free and that can also sustain you in the long term. So this just feels like a typical battle between the head and the heart. And regardless of what you guys chose, it's always an opportunity to see, where can I lean more into my intuitive capacities, right? Where can I lean in a little bit more to faith and release a little bit more of needing to know where it's going to go, or like how it's supposed to look, right? So we're going to get a little bit into, so this beaver card was kind of here to represent what this was supposed to like the energy spirit wanted you to extract from like this why did this happen? This situation that seemed like it kind of like forced you into a new direction, or into making a decision quite hastily, okay? And again, it seems like this is all divinely ordained, okay? And so the beaver is here to represent some of the energies, but we're going to get a little bit deeper into why this happened, more so from the level of the soul, okay? And just like your growth. So what else do we need to know about why this happened, please, Spirit? Why this choice was made in such haste, what it was here to bring about. Okay, so first we have illness, wellness. So this card, honestly, like when I see this reminds me like, illness is born when we're believing in illusion, essentially. That's, I feel like that's what I believe. And I feel like that's what a lot of people are starting to wake up to, how anything that is like things that are off in our body is just a solidified representation and symbol of what is off within our spirit. Okay. And so I feel like, again, like one of these decisions, I feel like these decisions are showing you what brings you into a state of feeling holistically fulfilled, and what brings you into a state of just feeling like, okay, this is all right. Like almost like a settling type of energy. Like I can make it through, or I can make it by, or this is enough, or like, not ever reaching for more or asking for more, or like reaching towards those things that could like fulfill you in a much deeper and holistic way. And so I feel like part of what this situation, the circumstances here to show you are, again, what makes you feel like a little bit ill and like a little bit off and not holistically right within yourself. And what are those dynamics that make you feel really good, that make you feel healthy holistically, like mind, body, and spirit. And so again, there's no wrong decision you can make. It's all just a reflection of like how much you do or do not believe in this light of truth being able to sustain you. And there's nothing wrong of whatever paradigm you feel like you're in too, is really important here too, because, shame and embarrassment just solidify that sense of limitation and that sense of feeling like we're powerless. But the second you just accept, like, okay, I am a little bit more rational, I am a little bit more cautious, like that acceptance within itself is like the unabridged counterpart to freedom. Right? Because it says this too is okay. This too is perfect. This too shows me where I'm still denying the light of truth, the light of God within myself, and where I still don't believe in myself. And that ultimately being able to see how that is too, that is empowering, right? And so you're much likely to make it out of these like karmic ways, and where we're still deluding ourselves down and, not showing up in ways that we really want to show up. Right? It makes solidifying and merging with those realities that actually feel like the road less traveled versus the road that most people choose to take. Okay. So it seems like there was like an option between something that most people would take and that maybe, could be good, it could sustain you. And there was an option between something that could feel amazing and that we're like, okay, is this going to work or whatever? And, ultimately, if whatever end of that spectrum you wound up on, trusting the journey and knowing that ultimately it's all about strengthening your faith and your road less traveled. And how do I merge more with that? How do I commit more to that? How do I just like trust the process of that even more? Next, we have illusion with Maya. This is so beautiful. I feel like this is essentially like, honestly, what I was getting at with the illness and wellness. It's like, am I choosing to entertain illusion, or am I choosing to entertain truth? Right? And the more that we entertain truth, what is that? That's just those things that feel expansive. Truth feels good. It feels expansive. It feels like anything is possible. It feels like the world is my oyster. And illusion essentially is those things that say that life is restrictive and life can't be good, and we can't become the version of ourselves that we deep down feel that we are. This is really what this is here to show you, you guys, is like, this is essentially what the dharmic path is, or what the road less traveled really is. The fork in the road really is all about, is just about revealing to yourself like how much you believe, a life that you want to live is possible, and how much you are taking the bait of whatever this limitation is suggesting to you, right? And I feel like for some of you too, there's a lot here about letting go of like what other people think about the decisions that you're making. And like, this could even be about like choosing, this could actually have to do like some aspect, or for some of you guys, this could have to do with just like your body or what you choose to do with your body, or like, you know, taking more natural ways of living and of taking care of yourself versus like the more modern scientific ways of like living and taking care of yourself. So this is really like doing your best to live in the highest integrity with your own truth, and not like, and like really trusting that that is going to sustain you. And that is, I think, the biggest leap of faith. The biggest leap of faith and the greatest way that we can dispel illusion is by recognizing it and knowing and deeply understanding that, you know, all paths lead home. It doesn't matter which path I take, but I'm at a place, pile number 4 is at a place where it's really essential. Your guides are really coming through strongly and saying that it's time to take even greater risks. Like, even if you've already chosen the road less traveled, like always be taking those things and leaning into those realities that allow more light, that allow more fun, that allow more, that tell a different story than what the majority of the population is telling, right? Of like, if I'm going to make money, then I have to be serious. I have to have a job. I have to have a 401k. I have to have A, B, C, and D, versus, you know, this new story of like understanding that abundance is not just about money, right? It's about, you could just be making a little bit of like this Page of Pentacles type of money, but still have more time on your hands, more time to rest, more time to integrate, more time to study what really sets your soul on fire, right? It's not just all about the money. And I feel like Spirit is really guiding my pile number 4 in a way to like, this situation, this catalyst was here to just really show you that, you know, you can live life on your own terms. You really can live life on your own terms. And there are so many people already doing it. And it's about having faith in yourself, having faith in your ability to take those leaps, and to not need to have everyone on the same page as you, and to just trust that there is a force like guiding you. Like, what you seek is seeking you. What you want to be revealed to you is like actually the thing that's pulling you to ask those questions, and it's actually pulling you to seek it to reveal itself to you. So it's like, you can trust that, you know. I feel like this is really beautiful. This has much less to do about like material things, and this is much more to do about like a strengthening of faith and like living much more free in your life in general, right? And not taking the bait of settling for something that makes more sense, but ultimately feels like you're selling your soul in the end. You know, because eventually that, you know, that leads to illness. The more that you restrict yourself, the more that you feel like you have to do things out of obligation versus like what actually feels inspiring, that leads to illness. And the things that you do because it's just born of your spirit, it's born of your heart, it's born of like, this is why I'm here, this is what I'm meant to do, this is my dharma, this is what feels right. It might not make sense to everyone. It might feel like I'm scrounging around in some senses, or like just barely making it by, but you know what? I know who I am. I know why I came here. I'm living with purpose. So ultimately, it's only a matter of time before the abundance floods in, okay? And those karmic knots will undo themselves in due time, in perfect timing, right? When you're living in light, when you're living in truth, like you become a magnet to more opportunities that support that light, right? When you're living in greater alignment with like those illusions, right? Then you become a magnet for things that are going to deepen your experience or your belief in, you know, what's possible. It's always just like a reflection of what you think is actually possible. Okay. And so, knowing that, which choice, which decision, what place are you seated in when you're making decisions? Is it from fear, illusion, or is it from clarity, truth? All right. That's what Spirit wants you to extract from this lesson. So let's get a little bit more information about this happening. I just saw the Lovers card. Might have had to do with lovers. Yeah. There was definitely like this was a karmic situation. So this was written in your soul's blueprint to kind of reveal to you these things. And Spirit is really coming through and reiterating that there's nothing that you can do that's wrong. Like, it really is all about inner illumination and getting to know yourself better, getting to know where you're still denying the light of truth within yourself, right? There is a lot here about like karmic knots, like tying up loose ends, going on a new adventure, right? Leaving the old behind. So I feel like for some of you guys, this might even be saying that Yeah, okay, so this is something that has already happened for a majority of you guys. The Year of Swords, it could have been hard for you guys. You might have experienced some sort of like, you might have let some people down, or you felt like you let some people down, because there is a lot coming through about the amount of depth and the amount of like almost hurt and suffering, and just like, I think ultimately it just feels like you might have been misunderstood of why you made this decision, because you might just be around people that are super plugged into the matrix and super plugged into the mainstream of things. But ultimately this is leading to success, right? I feel like you can already feel that you're on a pathway of success. And for some of you guys, this could, like, for those of you that knew you made the more rational and logical choice, this is even saying that you can still succeed and you can still change. Like, this is not set in stone. No decision is ever set in stone, but it's always essential that we're, remembering, like, okay, or that we're at least bringing awareness to how we're making decisions. Are we making decisions more from the shadow, or is it more from the illumined sense of light, and ultimately trusting that life does have your back? Yeah, the Hierophant. This was a big teacher. This was a big lesson for you, pile number 4. And I feel like this might be something that you guys have been thinking about for some time, or wondering for some time. But with the 3 of Swords, I do feel like maybe it was hard. It might have been hard to make this decision. And it might have felt like you let a lot of people down, or like you lost a lot of connections along the way. But it's like, the more that you're stepping into the light and being who you authentically are, there can be a little bit of those persecution codes that exist, right? So yeah, I feel like this could have to do, there's a lot here with the beaver coming through and the 10 of Pentacles that says, that talks about family. So maybe in a big way, this is like, maybe in a big way, you're just like breaking free holistically from traditions, and just from like, this just reminds me of the energy that you get from like really what the road less traveled is like, there's going to be a lot of people that misunderstand you. There's going to be a lot of people that like misjudge you. There's going to be a lot about like facing your deepest fears and your deepest like illusions, again, is something that continues to come up. And so while this is not always an easy path, like the road less traveled is a path that is extremely worth it. And if you're curious more about the road less traveled, I did actually make a video. I think it's the last video I released actually, talking about the road less traveled, how to make that transition if you haven't already, and if you have made that transition, how to deepen your conviction, okay? Because for some of you, it's very clear that that transition hasn't been made yet, and you chose, I don't want to say the easier path, because let's face it, life is never fucking easy. No matter what path you're on, it's never certain, okay? But if you were wondering if like there was a different way to go, like I feel like this is really coming forth and saying there's a big opportunity to dispel, to undo karmic knots with illusion and justice, to like slice through those karmic propensities and to create new karma, like familial and generational karma. And this situation kind of came in hot. But for a lot of you guys, you're wondering, did I make the right decision by choosing the path of my heart? And while it's never like, while there is most certainly going to still be heartbreak involved and like misunderstanding and like feeling like, okay, when is it going to fucking catch up? Or like, when is A, B, C, D going to work out for me? Ultimately, I feel like, Spirit will always reiterate to us that choosing light, choosing where our heart is guiding us, choosing trusting ourselves above all else. Like trusting your heart is the gateway to God, okay? Trusting your heart is the gateway to source, is the gateway to tapping into your soul's blueprint. And so Spirit is like, it's being on that path. There's this misunderstanding that it's always going to be like rainbows, sunshines, butterflies. I think we're coming out of that illusion, like as a collective. But it really is here to kind of bring us through that process of purification. Yeah, I'm just now noticing that there's an Om symbol here. So the sound of the universe. So like everything, all is one. Everything is perfect. Everything is as it's meant to be. How can I live a little bit more freely? How can I, knowing that I'm a spark of God, how can I embrace more of that? By choosing to lean into my freedom, and ultimately knowing that when I'm tapping into my soul's blueprint and what sets me on fire, what keeps me well holistically, that ultimately that's going to bring success. But written within every like success story is always going to be this, okay? And, it's like you can't get away from this as long as you're alive, right? It's like one of the things that grows us the most and helps us dispel illusion is through by revealing to us where we're still attached, where we're still believing in things that are not true. And so I feel like this is really saying, like, choose your heart. It's not always going to be easy, but anytime you reach a fork in the road, trust that as long as you're doing the thing that makes the most sense to your heart, it might not always make sense to your mind. Actually, most of the time, it probably won't make sense to your mind. And in many cases, it will be the opposite of like what your mind probably thinks you should be doing. Okay. But we're here to be learners and students of life. Whether you would consider yourself a teacher or not, like in order to really be a teacher, you're always a student, right? You're never done learning. And so, your best bet is always to make a bet on yourself and understand this is all a play, but it's all relevant. It doesn't mean illusion doesn't mean irrelevant. And so how can I have the most fun? How can I experience the most amount of freedom and joy, etc. within this game that I'm in? So this is why this kind of catalyst happened so fast, so quickly, to kind of show you where you were at in relationship to this karmic knot in terms of how much do I believe in my dreams being able to support me and how much am I still like selling myself short. Neither is better or worse or anything like, that's never what my channel is about, but it's just really about being honest about where we're at on the journey and knowing that, there are better things in store. It always gets better. The more you trust, the more you connect with your divine self, it's always going to get better. You're always going to be meeting success no matter how much of this there is. You always trust on the other side of this is always more of this, okay? On the other side of this, it's always deepening you into yourself, okay? So pile number 4, I'm gonna leave this here for now. I hope this brought you clarity, confirmation, peace today. If it did, please give this video a thumbs up, comment any synchronicities down below, and I do hope to see you on my channel again soon. Hey, pile number 5, welcome to your reading for why did that happen? The age-old question for being on planet Earth, okay? So why did that happen? So I feel like what's emerging that has maybe been on your consciousness for some time, you guys, is there might have been like, I'm getting this sense that like you were in a dynamic with someone, or like you might have even been within an organization, or there was something where like, I feel like you kind of had to disturb the harmony by being like speaking your truth and by like not pretending everything is something that it's not. And by like, I feel like, sorry, I'm saying like so much, but this goes along with trying to articulate these messages that you can feel and like putting it into words. So I feel that pile number 5, you guys were being guided in this situation to being more truthful about what really makes you happy. And there was some illumination that happened. And I do believe there was something about you speaking your truth and you speaking up that led to a moment where your structures as they once were came crumbling down, okay? And wondering, was that the right thing to do? Like, should I have said that? Should I have done that? But I feel like ultimately that's like what was already kind of written. And I feel like regardless of whether you could have done things differently or like if things could have been handled more gracefully, I feel like ultimately what needed to be brought up in the light of truth was. And that ultimately what was most important is that you were learning to speak up for your truth and learning that you are worthy to be heard and your happiness deserves to be a priority. Now, I feel like there might have been some like gossip around the situation with the fire ant, or maybe even that's something that you like shined light on is like, to me, this can also just be representative of people being petty or people just like not being mature about their feelings, not going about their own karmic propensities, or they're dispelling their own illusions in a way that's very empowering. And so I feel like you guys were just like standing in your power, seated in your place of power, and you're really here to like be like to seek truth. You guys are truth seekers, pile number 5, and you want to illuminate. You understand that as long as something remains unillumined, that is the same degree that you are not free. And so I feel like pile number 5, you had to make a decision between playing it safe, playing it small, and avoiding people talking shit about you, but then, staying in an environment or in a situation where ultimately there was a kind of toxicity in it. And it wasn't, it was maybe a glimpse of something that could have been like brought you some degree of happiness, but it wasn't you knew that there was better out there, okay? You knew that there was greater adventure to be had. There were better people for you to be around. When I mean better, I just mean like more relevant, because no one's like better, but it's just like I feel like you guys are here and you are light workers. You are here to be truth speakers and to not settle for realities that are just like dull and dead. And so I feel like, you know, why did this happen? You might be asking that because you might be asking like, was that the right thing to do? And speaking your truth is always the right thing to do, okay? And honoring what is actually truthful to you is always the right thing to do. Only standing up for things that you actually believe in and not doing things just because it's what everyone else is doing and because you might be afraid of the consequences of like honoring your truth versus like complying to what everyone else is doing. Okay, so I feel like why did that happen in the way that it did? Well, it was here to show you that you can stand alone in your power, and that's at the end of the day something that other people are going to respect above anything else, because you are showing up as this like Empress type of energy, this King of Swords energy, which is like, you know, the Empress is like the Queen of Queens, right? It's like, not saying again that you're better, but it's like than anyone, but the Queen of Queens in this sense is like mastering all states of what makes up a human experience. So mastering the material plane, right? Mastering the emotional plane, mastering the passionate spiritual plane, mastering the plane of the realms of the mind, right? So it's like, I feel like it was a moment where things changed very rapidly. Okay, and it really gave you an opportunity to see that you have big balls, okay? You have big cojones, pile number 5, and it's not always easy to stick up in these ways and to, you know, to be the person that might be singled out, but you know what? You know, this person, regardless of whether, you know, this person is smiling at the end of the day, right? Like he's engaged in the battle just like anyone else, but the thing about what makes this person smile is that they're battling for causes that they believe in, okay? And so you're not going to settle and battle for things that you don't believe in, right? And so I feel like this might have like catalyzed you in a new direction altogether, because like you had no choice after whatever happened, after whatever you did, right? And ultimately, like spirit, like the reason for this is just giving yourself permission to just truly be happy and to understand that like that's really, honestly, there's no other way to live. And I feel like as a collective, we're starting to wake up to this, that like happiness is the way, right? Happiness is the key, whatever that looks like for you, and understanding that it's not a future thing, that you deserve it now. And it's not about putting it off until I'm retired, until A, B, and C, but how can I live a life to where I'm honoring my full truth in every moment, because ultimately that's a life where it's infused with happiness, even in the midst of uncomfortable situations and uncomfortable catalysts and reflections, you're always going to be left off feeling pretty solid in who you are, okay? And so yeah, this is beautiful, because I feel like this is really like going against the grain of maybe society, or maybe what other people had expected you to do, because most people like are okay with dimming their truth, dimming their light in order to like be accepted, or in order to not rub people the wrong way. But I feel like your truth is really being like, okay, get ready to stand alone when and if you have to, but ultimately you're going to be the one standing alone that's like happy as fuck, and that eventually you're going to attract other people that are like, you know, standing alone, and that, you know, aren't about petty bullshit or anything, right? But yeah, this is really, really exciting energy. So I want to see what else this the intention was for this catalyst and this event. Why did this happen, Spirit, for pile 5? Okay, you have Pele, awakening. Yes, Pele is like the fire goddess. So, you know, fire, this is all about transformation. There's a lot here about transformation. Awakening, yeah, I feel like you're awakening to a new level of yourself, a new level of embodying your truth, a new level of, like, we can have awakenings within awakenings, but honestly, this feels like an awakening in power, because this is the fire element. And we do have a lot of air here too. And so when you put air and fire together, like, that is a force to be reckoned with. Because you do have the fire ant coming through here too, I'm wondering if maybe the way you went out was kind of fiery. And so, you know, I feel like at the very least, like, because there is so much emphasis on speaking your truth, it might have felt like a breakthrough moment for you guys, like almost like an activation moment where you were surprised by your own self with just how it happened, of like, wow, I've never been so bold, or I've never felt so A, B, C, and D. And it's like, this is a new level of empowerment. It's not like empowerment, not from the standpoint of I'm here to burn people, but empowerment from the understanding of like, fire knows that if it needed to or if it wanted to, it could absolutely burn people. I am getting a lot about like Gemini Mars, or, you know, something significant about like Mars and like having air signs within, you know, your Mars or something. Because there's a lot about that fire and air convergence here. Okay. Maybe even like ninth house placements. And air signs and ninth house placements or something. Okay. There's, or like Mercury, something about like Virgo and Gemini. So ultimately I feel like I am getting a sense of feeling so good that like, oh my God, I actually have a backbone, you know, pile 5 being like, I actually have a backbone. So knowing that you could burn people if you needed to, but ultimately like just to prove to yourself that like you have that in you, I guess, not to prove to yourself, but I think it just feels nice. It just felt nice to like, for once, in maybe a very long lifetime, to feel like you stuck up for yourself. And maybe you felt like you haven't always stuck up for yourself and you haven't always chosen the path that actually felt the most liberating. And maybe you're used to choosing the path that felt more safe. And that's fine. Like honor whatever, you know, feels the most truthful for you in that moment. But I feel like the scales have been tipping and now you're stepping into this new profound level of awakening and understanding of yourself and embodiment of who you are and who you came here to be. So what else, Spirit, was this here to show? Why did this happen? Why did it happen like that? Why did that happen? We have sexuality. So more like this is like Kundalini energy, okay? And Pele and Freya are like incredibly powerful, like divine feminine archetypes. And you do have the Empress coming through here. So like, I cannot help but like, man, and notice how their both of their like the titties, they got the little titties out. Maybe, I don't mean like little titties, but they got their titties out is what I'm trying to say. And their arms are up. You know, the like having your arms up or out is like a power, like that's a power stance, right? And generally it's like people that are very confident, like have this very open body language. Even the light here has the arms up and out, right? So there's a lot here about like, this was here to like expand. I'm so sorry I'm saying like so much, you guys. I'm going to edit this and just cringe the whole time at how, no, I'm going to tally how many times I said like, okay? And if one of you guys comments down below, I'll let you know, but only if you guys ask for it, but I'm definitely going to count. Okay. So anyways, this is not settling. This is no longer keeping yourself inside of a box of what anyone thinks is the right thing to do, right? This is not living your life any longer so anyone else can understand you. This is like, does it make sense to me? Does it make me happy? Oh, fucking K, that's what I'm going to do. Fuck the rest of you. Okay. And this is why what I love so much about this, you know, the codes that I'm seeing here is this might've been something that like you felt like maybe you weren't ready for on one level, but on a deeper level, like you have always been waiting for this moment to, there's more boobs here too. You've always been waiting for this moment to have some sort of permission slip. It's like we can sometimes forget that we're the ones that pushes ourselves up into a corner, so to speak, to where sometimes we do lash out in certain ways because we feel like we lack the permission slip already to just be bold in who we are. And so we'll create, higher self will create situations where it's like we're backed into a corner and it seems like we have this powerful activation where we're put in a tunnel and we say something and we do something that in our right mind or in like our normal state of consciousness, we might not have done, or at least what made the most sense up to that point in time in terms of who we knew ourselves to be. Right. And we have this fucking breakthrough moment that just allows so much space for so much more authenticity. And it's like, Pile 5, you've been waiting for this rebirth. You've been waiting to be who it is you truly are and to stop taking your cues from the outside and to dress how you want to. If you want to post seductive pictures online, fucking do it. Like if you want to drop an F-bomb in a place that seems like you shouldn't, you know, you're doing it because, not because you're trying to like prove a point to anyone, but because you're here for freedom. Okay, you're not here for pettiness, for bullshit, and you're not here to play small to appease the masses anymore because that does not lead to happiness. You are here for true happiness. Some of you guys might be going through like a Saturn return or like have some sort of like profound transit happening in Saturn just because we do have 26 coming up. And these types of activations are things that can tend to happen within like a Saturn's return. So you might be like late 20s, early 30s, or like like having like one of those midlife moments, you know what I mean? So it doesn't have to be that, but that's just like the profundity that I'm feeling behind this. So what else? Why did this happen? Why did that happen, please, Spirit? Why did it happen like this? What else does pile number 5 need to know? Page of Cups. Yeah, living a life like, this is my When Pigs Can Fly card. All right, so living a life that most people might not think is possible, but deep down you know is possible. Deep down you know it's worth to go after. Yeah, undoing major karmic knots here. This was like something that was written in your blueprint, okay? So you might have even been working up to like speaking your truth more, but it was like this is something that needed to happen to kind of draw the line in the sand, so to speak, to where you recognize, now I have no choice. It's almost like now I have to put my money where my fucking mouth is, because like something major, I feel like, kind of shifted in your life once you allowed this energy to come through. Something really major shifted, but in a good way. It's like no turning back, in a good way. Next, we have the 7 of Cups. I'm gonna get a few more. Yeah, I feel like this is like not questioning yourself, like following your heart and knowing that, you know, the direction to go, the answer, the right answer, if you could ever say there's a right answer, is always it's always the one that lights your heart up the most. Okay, it's not the one that plays it safe. It's not the one that wants to save face. Like, it's not the one that puts vanity above authenticity, you know, and it's not the one that judges if those protection mechanisms are still happening, okay? But it's just, as much as I can, how can I let my heart guide this journey a little bit more? And the heart is your connection to your soul's blueprint. That's your emotional guidance system. So it takes care of everything. Like, I was even starting to have visions of like different ways to change my hair, and like visions of how I would style it. And once I started doing that, even though it was like much different from my regular like long brown, black, like close to black hair, you know, I started getting visions of this short, fiery red hair. And I was like, okay. And once I did that, it's almost like that was like merging with that avatar. And changing that external way was almost a symbol for like this internal type of change, that like activation that feels very similar to this, okay? So next we have the Page of Wands coming up, and again, lay down. So this is another depiction of, you know, a woman with her arms up, and what I love about this one in particular is the heart is led forward, and, you know, there's a lot of freedom that I'm feeling from this overall. And I feel like it just kind of attests to the freedom that we begin to feel when we are just living in alignment and we're saying what's actually on our heart, and we're not trying to conceal it to save face or anything, right? Because there's a big thing here about like needing to honor your truth and needing to say how things actually are, and like not confusing that with like, I feel like you guys are peacekeepers naturally. And so this new side of you that's kind of fiery and kind of bold, there's almost a misperception that peace can be born from this, okay? But I feel like, again, there's a lot here about like stepping beyond any ideas of how things should look in order to like mean anything about the truth of you or like who you came here to be, right? It's stepping beyond constructs that the mind can understand, and it's really living from your intuitive heart, right? Your intuitive understanding of who it is you came here to be and what feels like the most authentic way to express yourself, and understanding the more that you just like embody that, and that you bet on yourself, right? And you're making decisions from the level of the intuitive heart like that. You don't always know how, but it always leads you to greater horizons and to better opportunities, things that bring you much like that reflect to you greater amounts of joy, right? Greater amounts of peace. 8 of Wands. Okay, that wasn't this one, but yeah, like there's a lot of transformation. Okay, so I don't think I need to pull any more cards for this, because I feel like ultimately this kind of like, we already know this, we have a good indication of what this was here to be for you, whether it's the ending of like a relationship or some type of structure that felt safe for an amount of time. But it's like once you started owning your light more and not dimming more, like dimming to fit in, like once you started really embracing who you are, it's like the structures couldn't stand anymore, and maybe like it threatened other people, or like something you said, the way you said it like didn't fit someone's version of professionalism or like, you know, company guidelines or whatever. And you're like, you know, I'm not here to fit in a box, and I'm not here to have other people define who I am, who I came here to be. And ultimately, I'm not here to play it small in any way. And I'm here to set myself free, because I know the more that I set myself free, the more that I give other people permission to do the same. Okay. pile number 5. So this was a huge karmic test, and I feel like you guys passed with flying colors. And you know, regardless if there's gossip, like, you know, that just comes with the territory of like being bold and being different. People are going to talk about you, and it's not always necessarily because it's negative. It's because like it's just so different from the way that majority of people have learned is like okay to live, or how the majority of people choose to live. A majority of people choose to fit in and not to embody and not to embrace it, because it, you know, the transformations that go along with that can be very uncomfortable, and you know, it forces you out of comfort zones. It really pushes you outside of the confines that you have been in for a long time, and it like embodying this level of your truth and light means that things are going to change in your external reality in a very big way. Okay, and it's going to draw out other versions of yourself that, you know, are just different. That's the only reason that it's uncomfortable. It's because you're used to something else. But like, again, you drew a line in the sand, pile number 5, and I'm so proud of you. More and more beautiful things to come. I can't wait to see like where you go with this, and how you how you touch the lives of other people, because there is a lot of like visionary codes in here, a lot of like leadership codes in here. And yeah, thank you for being here. Thank you for believing in yourself, for trusting yourself, and thank you for caring about your life. If this reading resonated today, please give this video a thumbs up, comment any synchronicities down below, subscribe to the channel if you've been here before, and I hope to see you soon.